All right, happy President's Day, guys. Right? It's President's Day. We're supposed to celebrate our presidents. I mean, I really don't know what we're celebrating. Me personally, I'm 37 years old, which means that when I was born, George Bush Sr. had just got elected into office, which means that every president that was elected in my lifetime either was a PDF or just hung out with PDFs and supported PDFs. I mean, they probably all were. I know that that's a hard thing for some people to grasp, but when you look at what's going on in the world right now and the lack of accountability that we've seen, despite the horrific crimes that have happened against children and been happening for who knows how long, it's hard to think otherwise. So yeah, I'm not going to be celebrating President's Day. I don't think there's anything to celebrate about. But with that said, I don't think that that will always be the case. As I said yesterday, we are the light. We are going to make the change. Despite all this evil and chaos that we see in the world and what's happened these last few years and whatever's going to happen in the future, you guys just remember, we're on the right side of history. And what we're doing and what we're about to do, it's worth everything. But yeah, so originally I was planning on going live today, but I got surprised by some relatives that came in from out of state. So I'm going to be hanging out with them today. My first live, the first Real Bays live show is going to be Wednesday night at 10 o'clock Eastern time. And I have something really special for you guys. So with that said, I'm kind of going to wing it for today. It's going to be a short episode. I'm going to go over some clips of a specific individual because I keep saying we're going to change the world. We're already changing the world. And if it was up to me, I think that, some of the first things that we would have to change in order to do that would be our Attorney General, Pam Bondi, and our Director of the FBI, Kash Patel. I believe that words have power. I believe that people should say what they mean should mean what they say, and there should be consequences when people don't follow through. There should be consequences when people lie, whether under an oath or not, but especially under oath. And, I keep hearing promises made, promises kept, but it really feels like the only people that they're keeping their promises to are the PDFs. It's not the American people. And I have a lot of concerns. And as I've been saying, I believe that Christianity is under attack. I believe that there are dark forces, people that literally worship the devil, that are trying to manipulate Christians and infiltrate Christian churches. And I know Candace has covered this multiple times, and she has her concerns as well. And she's 100% right. And those FARA documents that came out in September prove that. And I was actually talking to Danks today, and shout out to Danks. And he's digging into some of this stuff too, with the geofencing that's going on with the Christian churches. And when I spoke to him before, he was still editing a video. It should be out by now. I haven't watched it yet. Like I said, the premiere of this video is a couple hours from now, from when I'm recording it. So I'm gonna put the link for his channel in my description of this video. And yeah, I would definitely recommend checking it out if you haven't already. But we need to shine the light on all of the corruption, and not just the PDFs, but the people that are laundering the money, the people that are attacking the Constitution, the people that are bringing the drugs into our country, the people that have been silencing those who may know too much or may be speaking out. I mean, we do a lot of talking about what's going on in Minnesota, but we haven't been talking about Melissa Horton and what happened to her. For all these different crimes, you keep hearing Kash Patel say, oh, we did this. We're the most transparent administration. We arrested these people. We arrested those people. It's like, yeah, but you haven't arrested anybody on the Einstein list. You haven't even investigated or allowed Tulsi Gabbard to investigate what really happened to Charlie Kirk. In fact, you're not only complicit with whatever happened to Charlie Kirk, but you are part of it. You are part of the conspiracy. Because make no mistake, We all know at this point that there is a conspiracy surrounding Charlie Kirk and all these people in power, whether it's because they're afraid someone's going to come after them or if they're corrupt, controlled opposition, I don't know. But nobody seems to want to call out the obvious that if Charlie Kirk was assassinated as part of some conspiracy, that the FBI is a part of it. Yes or no? Oh, what the DNA on the screwdriver, and yeah, they found the gun, and they don't want anybody to show the pictures. They don't want anybody to talk. And the one witness who saw the guy in tactical gear that didn't match the description of Tyler Robinson, that person didn't even get contacted by the defense team. Like this whole thing, it's gone so far out of control. It's very clear that they never anticipated so many of us to care as much as we did and to do the work that we've done to uncover all these facts and point out all these anomalies. Like, they really underestimate us. And I just want you guys to realize something. If they underestimated us that much in regards to what happened to Charlie Kirk, that means that they're underestimating us with everything else. And that's also why I get concerned when it comes to ICE, because I've said it before and I'll say it again. I do not believe that ICE is here for the immigrants. I believe that it is here for us. When the government is spending billions of dollars on these new detention centers, I think they're making concentration camps. I do. I think they're making concentration camps and they're preparing for the people that are going to rise up and try to make the real change that we need to make to save our country. I believe our government has been infiltrated, and like I said, as far as the health of the nation goes and our physical well being, I think that we're in some trouble. But we are spiritual beings living out a physical experience. I do believe that there is life after death. I do believe that there is a whole lot more to this world than we could even comprehend. And to me, that makes what we're doing and everything that we say and everything that we do all the more important. Our words matter. Our actions matter. Our lack of actions matter just as much. People need to speak up. They need to speak up. They need to take the time to educate themselves. They need to learn what's going on in this world. They need to learn the real history, not the Macmillan McGraw textbook history that Americans learned in the 90s. The real factual history of the world. We need to understand how we got here, and it will give us a better idea of where we're going. And people need to step up and make the changes. And anybody right now, any influencer, any politician, anybody who's talking about the midterms and not talking about the Einstein files, not talking about Charlie Kirk, not talking about why Bill Gates is still a free man and what he's trying to do with all the farmland that he's been buying and what he's trying to spray into our food and put into the water that he's trying to control, all the lines in the skies, what they're trying to do to manipulate the weather. If they're not talking about that, if they're talking about the midterms or about our not so greatest ally or how great MAGA is and how great of a job Trump is doing, yeah, those are the bad guys. Those are the bad guys. Whether it's a politician, whether it's a YouTuber. I mean, let's face it, we already know at this point that everybody on the mainstream media is a scumbag. I don't care if you're a news anchor, you're a cameraman. The days of I'm just doing my job is not an excuse. Okay? We're talking about good versus evil. With everything that we know that has happened to children and everything that's happening to people all over the world, everything that's happened to us since COVID, every grandparent that died alone in a hospital, every child that's having complications that may or may not be related to something that they were given. We need to take a stand. We need to take a stand. Just getting them to stop putting the dyes in our food and stop lying to us about the types of food that we should be eating. Like, yeah, it's a baby step in the right direction, but it is nowhere near enough. Nowhere near enough. We are being oppressed. We are being overtaxed. We are becoming debt slaves. Our whole country is bleeding out right now. And if we don't stop the wound, we are going to be the ones that suffer. And all these people that are responsible, all these people that are doing it, what are they doing? Besides diddling kids or looking out for somebody that is diddling kids? Yes or no? Am I right or am I wrong? Please tell me. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. And it's bad enough that they're brainwashing kids in these public schools, but now they're infiltrating churches. You got scumbags like Michael Aquino, who wrote a high priest Satanist, who wrote books on psychological warfare. And he himself had a case for allegedly abusing children, dozens of them. And that's the type of person, high ranking in the military. And now people that are affiliated with him in some way through some degree of separation are running organizations or a part of organizations that are dealing with Christian churches. While we're seeing these FARA documents come out, all the geofencing going on. And again, check out Danks' video. I can't wait. I got the spoiler alert, and I think it's going to be good. And I think it's going to be another factor in the equation that I keep talking about of what's going on and how the government really views us, how they're treating us, how they're attacking us in different ways. You know, I don't want to like sit here and like pound my chest and talk about how we're at war because I don't want people to get the wrong idea. But there is a battle for souls going on, okay? There are a lot of very powerful people that their entire mission right now is to separate us from God, separate us from the Holy Spirit, to indoctrinate us, to groom us, to do the same to our children. And we can't let it happen. We can't let it happen. And like I said, I am a Christian, but I am also an American that values the Constitution. I believe everybody has the right to believe in what they believe. But I don't think that there is any place in any office for a Satanist or for a PDF or for somebody that thinks that their people is better than ours. Somebody that thinks that, you know, that they're chosen in some way and that we're just crap. Okay? That is not what America is about. All men and women were created equal. We are all children of God. And personally, I hope you guys all find Jesus. I think that the country and the world would be a much better place. But if you don't, I'm not going to respect you any less. I'm not going to love you any less. I'm not going to treat you any differently. And that is the difference between Christians and the rest of the world, in my opinion. In my opinion. And if someone wants to prove me wrong, I would be open for a debate anytime. Anytime. But anyway, now that I've done my little unscripted opening monologue, let's watch Kash Patel. And like I said, words have power. Let's watch and listen to him in his own words. And you guys tell me if you think that he should still have his job or if he's doing his job the right way.
This laptop's for real. This is the real thing. How would you bring a case against Hunter?
As I always did when I was prosecuting difficult criminal conspiracies, follow the money. It's the same thing that helped me investigate the Russiagate and expose Hillary and the Dems paid for it. Money doesn't lie. Bank records don't lie. Numbers don't lie. And when you follow the money, you get to the core of a fraud or conspiracy in this case, which is a fraud-based conspiracy because there's so much money involved. You're talking millions and millions of dollars moving overseas into American bank accounts, into offshore bank accounts. Those bank accounts got names and human beings attached to them. Somebody's getting paid for something. And those records just don't lie. They speak louder and more clear than any witness you can possibly be put before a jury or grand jury. And that's how I would do it. I just follow the money. And the rest, if you find more evidence based on other people coming in and testifying and giving color to that money trail, maybe you can charge other substantive offenses related to that. But my goal would be to follow the money and say, okay, was there a violation of the law? If so, charge them all. Mm-hmm. And then you start working your way down the pyramid.
So you see this intermixing.
You know, I agree with every single thing that Kash Patel said. But that's not the Kash Patel that's in office right now. You know, follow the money. Follow the money. So as far as Einstein goes, let's see. He was dealing with a lot of money and a lot of different people's money. Stephen Hoffenberg, who was involved in a giant Ponzi scheme, he was affiliated with Epstein. There was rumors that Epstein was involved in that, but he was never charged. I believe a man named Paul Prosperi, who is a friend of Bill Clinton, another one that they could have looked into. Obviously, Les Wexner, who signed, and it's crazy with Les Wexner too, because in 1985, and I covered this on the first episode of Bays is Based, but in 1985, Les Wexner's previous financial fixer, Arthur Shapiro, was executed, mob-style execution. About a year or two later, who replaces him? Now, fast forward a couple years, in 1991, there was an analytical report into the murder of Arthur Shapiro, which gave a whole breakdown explaining that although they were not making any accusations, that theoretically Les Wexner had potential motive, resources, and connections to have had that hit done. Because Arthur Shapiro got executed right before he was supposed to testify before a grand jury because he was not paying his taxes. And they believe that he may have had information on other people, some of his associates that had some shady tax stuff going on. But what's really, really ironic is the whole 6 or 7 year period that this man, Arthur Shapiro, wasn't paying his taxes were the same exact years that Les Wexner was doing all these massive acquisitions, buying up all these different companies. And who was involved in a lot of those deals? You guessed it, Arthur Shapiro. And now the same year that this analytical report came out, 1991, was also the same year that Les Wexner signed power of attorney and financial control to Jeffrey Epstein. I don't believe in coincidences. Now, if there was some kind of operation going on, and Les Wexner thought that there was even a slight chance that he might be under investigation and might get into some sort of trouble from this man that was murdered that worked for him, you know, who would you give control of all your assets to? Who would you give the power of attorney to? You know, he didn't give it to his wife. He didn't give it to a relative. He didn't give it to a former business partner. In fact, one of his most loyal, I forgot the guy's name, but one of his most loyal employees, a guy who quit his job and moved so that he could work for Les Wexner, ended up getting canned or forced to step down because he wasn't getting along with Epstein. You see where I'm going with this? You know, so the fact that Les Wexner's name was redacted, and that even still, now that the redactions were forced, his name they forced to unredact his name, and Thomas Massey brought it before Congress and Pam Bondi, that there are connections that and implications and files that don't just connect Les Wexner to like money laundering crimes or anything like that, but actual trafficking of minors. And he's still walking free. And Kash Patel, who is the director of the FBI as we speak, has yet to do an investigation, has yet to haul this man off into jail. And I want to know why. I want to know why. But let's keep going.
So the narrative has always been that there's video. Now, what is the chain of custody? Is there evidence that there is video? Is there evidence that it was moved around, stored, protected from people looking at it? Like,
you're going to get all that information. Like, that's literally what we're putting together. And we're going to give you every single thing we have and can. And that's the whole point. We can't fill gaps by making stuff up, and we're not going to do that.
And you have to be methodical.
And we have to be, that's the other thing, right? We're reviewing not just the video, we're reviewing everything as meticulously as we can, because that's what we owe the American people. That's our job. And I don't want to rush to the sticks or the podium and just say, hey, look what we found.
Right.
And then be like, oh, sorry, I forgot the 4 seconds. You know, if we miss 4 seconds, we'll be like, oh, well, it's in the 4 seconds you missed.
Right.
So I'm
How much can you talk about what you've seen?
Not yet. Just what I've told you.
Can you say you've seen anything?
No, that's the point, that there's nothing in there, like in the video. You guys will be bored.
You're talking about the video of the murder or the suicide.
The suicide.
But what about the video from the island?
Oh, that's it. Sorry. So you're talking about two different
Yes.
things.
Sorry.
So again, we're going to give you everything we can. And people have to remember, we're not going to re-victimize women. We're not going to put that shit back out there. It's not happening, because then he wins. Not doing it. You want to hate me for it? Fine. Again, logical.
Mind you, he says that he's not going to re-victimize the victims. They released the names of the victims and the survivors. They're still protecting the names of the co-conspirators and the PDFs, but they've already exposed the survivors. And there are some people that might believe that they might have done it on purpose. How many of these victims are not with us anymore over alleged schmooshminds? Alleged. I don't think Virginia did it.
Play out. If there was a video of some guy or gal committing felonies on an island and I'm in charge, don't you think you'd see it?
If you have access to it.
If I have it, period.
Right.
If I have it, if I have it.
Remember, he's in
So-
charge. He's the guy.
Where else would it be?
Right. If you have it.
Right.
But you can't say that you have it
No, we're giving you everything we have.
so far.
He's saying that he's given us everything that they have. Mind you, they were ordered by the courts to give us everything that they have. This video is like a year ago. We still don't have everything. They just started giving it to us now, and it's all heavily redacted. He's lying. He's lying now. He lied under oath when he said that there was no credible evidence to believe that anybody else was. There was no credible evidence to believe that Einstein was trafficking children to anybody else. That we now know is a lie. He perjured himself. Not. Sorry, Joe. Not you. Where is he? This guy. Let's get a better image of him. Look at him. He doesn't even look honest. He looks like he's full of shit. Like, he literally has that, oh shit, I didn't do it. I think they know I did it. Look on his face. Yes or no? Does he look genuine? Does he look confident in his words? Like, you listen to him speak. Does he sound like someone that has the Holy Spirit in him? That's speaking his truth? Or is this just more Fed slop? Just trying to push the narrative along?
Committing felonies on an island, and I'm in charge. Don't you think you'd see it?
If you have access to it.
If I have it, period.
Right.
If I have it, if I have it.
You know what he
So-
reminds me of? You
What
guys
else
ever
would
see
it
the movie Hustle and
Right.
Hustle
If
and
you
Flow?
Right.
But you
Hustle and Flow. All right, so Hustle and Flow is a movie that came out in 2005. Hold on, let me find an image. When I hear Kash Patel talking about how he's in charge, it reminds me of this scene in Hustle and Flow. And if you haven't seen this movie, you should watch it. It's actually pretty good. And in this scene at the end of the movie, he's telling a sex worker that works for him, giving him a demo tape because he's about to go to jail, saying, "Oh, you're in charge. I need you to make sure it gets played." And she's like sitting there, "I'm in charge. I'm in charge." That's like what I think about when I hear Kash Patel talking about how he's in charge. I don't believe it. I don't think that the guy is in charge of anything. I think he is doing what he's told. I do. That's just my opinion.
can't say that you have it
No, we're giving you everything we have.
so far.
Everything we have so far is
Have
the
They're giving us everything. Like, they still haven't given us everything that they have. And they still haven't arrested a single person. How is that possible? How is that possible? And again, all you got to do is follow the money. And speaking of following the money, I'll give you a spoiler alert for Wednesday night's live, what we're going to talk about. Because there is a man, another one of these suspicious schmoosh minds, a man named Thomas Bowers, who is a high up at Deutsche Bank. You guys can look it up. You should look it up. Because Deutsche Bank is where Einstein was allegedly laundering a lot of this money. And he had a lot of financial dealings with them. And so did President Trump, by the way. They had a lot of loans with him. And I'm pretty sure that Thomas Bowers' name was on some of those loans. Well, yeah. So not long after Jeffrey Epstein didn't, Thomas Bauer allegedly, And I got to tell you, I found it very, very odd that I did not find his name in the files one time. How is that possible? How is it possible that one of Einstein's facilitators is not in the files? Not his alleged shmushmide, not any of the deals that he signed off on. Well, maybe the deals are in there, but his name would be redacted. I find it odd, especially because they mentioned Trump how many times? Isn't Trump supposed to be the most mentioned name in the files? Yet, one of the people that, I don't want to say connected to him and Einstein, because from what I understand from my research, they're separate deals. I just want to make that clear. But the same man who facilitated a lot of deals with Einstein also facilitated some separate loans and deals with Trump. And that man is not with us anymore. And I believe it should all be in the files. And Kash Patel, he's always saying, if anyone has tips, if anyone has information, he's in charge. He's the guy to give it to. Well, Kash Patel, I might have some information that can help you arrest some of these people if you're interested. If you're interested, you can get in touch with me. I know I've been critical of you, and I've said some things, but I promise you, if you start doing your job and you start holding people accountable and arresting some of these PDFs and these people that are destroying our country, I will be happy to make videos giving you nothing but my praise. But for now, I mean, I am forced to just look at you like you're one of the bad guys. But let's keep going.
Have you guys gone over all the video that's available?
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. That's what takes so much damn time.
Right.
And
is there video from the island?
not of what you want. The people out there have filled the void with.
That's another lie. We now know that there's video from the island. We've seen some of the video of the island, and the video is not pretty. Children are being tortured. And there are other people involved in these videos. And yeah, like, we don't want the videos. I wish they never existed. Or I should say, I wish they didn't exist. But they do. And you know they do. And you are protecting these people.
Can't wait to see X, Y, or Z.
Right, speculation.
And I'm like, here's the other thing I've been asking for, right? Openly. If you have information on this, call us. Tell us. The best resource.
Well, I mean, I think I just did. I'm telling you right now, look into Thomas Bowers. Let's see. You know, look into Mark Middleton too while you're at it. There are a couple people that you could be looking into where, you know, their names just happen to not really be in the files or not in the files in the capacity that, you know, they should. I mean, they're in my files. I found them in my investigations. And I mean, I'm just sitting in front of a computer and on my phone. How is it that me by myself am able to find these people and find these connections? But the entire CIA, the entire FBI, I mean, the guys are not even with us anymore. And they're just not there. 6 million files. It takes all these years to give us some of them with all the heavy redactions. And you didn't get around to it? I don't know. And Kash, you know, while we're on the subject, if you want to talk about tips and other things that could help you with your case, you know, when 9/11 happened, there was a lot of insider trading. And I have reason to believe, based on my research, that our boy Jeffrey might be involved in some of that insider trading, which I think is going to be very, very, very interesting. And I'm very interested to see if that is in any of the other files that hasn't been released yet. And if there are heavy redactions, let's keep going.
The Epstein files, the last tranche, we're told, put out. Looking back since the beginning, and you've been a part of talking about this, and DOJ has obviously produced these elements. Do you have regrets about how it's been handled?
Look, like any other hot topic issue, the American public and the world had a great interest in this. And what we did under President Trump's leadership is produce the most transparent DOJ and FBI in history. 3 other administrations had the opportunity to do this, and we produced everything we legally and lawfully could. We worked with our partners in Congress, we followed the statutes and the court orders, and we produced, 3 million some pages. So I think we got to the result in the right way. Could we have gotten there faster? I'm not really sure because of numerous court cases, multiple protective orders, multiple court sealings. And so now we've produced everything we can while protecting victims' rights and
Do you think that it gets to some place? Does it get to some kind of charges that we don't yet know about?
Well, I'm glad you asked that. This FBI, as we'll talk about shortly, has done a record year in protecting and going after those that prey on children and sex traffic. And we have always said, as
mind you, again, I will point out, the names of the survivors got leaked. And there has not been a single arrest in regards to the case and the files. So I don't know what the hell this guy's talking about.
as the Attorney General has always said, if there's any facts or any information about an ongoing matter, please let us know. We will fully investigate it. But I want to remind your audience, the materials that were released were from search warrants from 2007, 8, and earlier. And they were strictly confined to certain parameters by those that ran the investigation then. So that's what was collected. We, and not just my FBI, 3 other FBIs have looked in.
In other words, it was above their pay grade, as Alex Acosta was told, and they were forced to look the other way. They knew what was there. They knew what was happening, and every single administration covered it up. And when Kash Patel gets at a desk and he's given all these files and all these things to look through, maybe he is, not at the big boy table where he gets shown the real stuff. Maybe they do just give him these heavily redacted, curated files so that when he steps before Congress and swears under oath that he can say, I have not seen any credible evidence to blah, 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 blah. That's totally possible. Maybe he didn't perjure himself. Maybe he's just not allowed at the big boy table. Maybe he got the job and he put his big boy pants on and he went in there and he thought he was gonna, run shit. And they just like sat him down. They gave him a little pat on the head and they're like, that's really cute, all that stuff you've been saying online and all these different podcasts. But this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna bend over. You're gonna take this. You're gonna shut the fuck up and you're gonna do what we tell you. And pardon my language. Man, I knew I said I wasn't gonna curse. All right, that's the only time. That's the only time. I'm not perfect. Like I said, I'm not Jesus. I'm trying my best to be a good Christian and to be more calm and to be more analytical, but it's hard. But I will keep trying. So if I just offended anybody, I am sorry. I'm going to keep working on it. But I am going to leave that in because I thought it was funny. But yeah, and I want to like Kash Patel too. Like, I'm not trying to give him personal attacks. I don't think it's fair what they were saying about his girlfriend. I think that's like the worst thing in the world is like when you get a guy who scores like a really hot girl and then everyone's like, yo, she's got to be a this or she's got to be a that. I mean, look at him. Why would she ever be with him? Like, that's horrible. Like for all we know, Cash over here is like a walking, talking kickstand. Like we don't know. We don't know. Maybe he was a trust fund baby. Like maybe he's, just really good in certain areas. Like we don't know. And I think that it's really, really offensive that people just look at him and just say that he's like a little ugly turd that couldn't score a hot girl. So obviously she has to be like I don't agree with that at all. I really don't. Like it's messed up. It's messed up. But what I also don't agree with at all, and what I think is messed up, is how Kash Patel made a lot of promises about what he was going to do with this case and with this job, and how he was going to change the world. He was going to make changes, and it's been business as usual. Promises made, promises kept, just not to the American people, and not by Kash Patel.
Into that material to see if there's any leads, to produce any investigatory leads, to prosecute anyone. And we have exhausted that, but we are always open to new information based on the release.
You told me when we last talked, this is 8 months ago when we did an interview with the FBI.
Hold on.
Leads to.
I just want to point out, we keep talking about the Einstein case, but he's always talking about if anyone has any leads, if anybody has any tips on any case. Okay, if that's the case, then why haven't you sat down with the likes of Baron Coleman, Candace Owens, Ian Carroll, Nate from Valhalla VFT, Blake Bednarz, and all the other people and investigative journalists that have been working on the Charlie Kirk assassination case? Have you sat down, or anyone from your office sat down with a single person who has found real evidence? Because it seems to me that when Tulsi Gabbard came to you and wanted to do an investigation to see if there was any foreign involvement, that you shot it down. And now you've been going around saying that, you haven't seen any credible evidence to believe that there was foreign involvement with the Charlie Kirk case. The same way that you were saying under oath that you don't believe that there's any reason to believe that anyone else was trafficked by Einstein. We see through you, Kash, and it is not too late. It is not too late. You can still do the right thing. I don't know what you've done behind the scenes. I don't know what anybody's made you do behind the scenes. I mean, I don't know what kind of lines you've crossed, if any. But you can still repent. You can still do the right thing. You could still be the man that we thought you were, that you promised us that you would be. It's like Brian Harpole said, do the job that you said you were going to do. Right? Am I wrong? I don't wish any ill will towards Kash Patel. And this is what I say to people all the time too. Like when we see this corruption and we hear about these horrible things that happen to people, and it's like, oh, this should happen to them, or they should get lined up here, or blah blah blah. No, like that's negative energy. Like you're just selling your soul. You're just letting it chip away at you. No, it's like pray for your enemies as well. Pray that people find their way. Be the light. Be the light. There's enough darkness in the world. We just keep exposing them. Like I'm exposing Kash right now. But don't wish ill. Don't wish ill. Just hope that they can find the light themselves and carry it with them. That's how we're going to make the change. That's how we're going to make the change. Like this guy, like I said, I don't know what he's done. I don't know how they got to him or whatever, but you got to remember something. he has to walk around for the rest of his life being Kash Patel, being the FBI director that was involved with the cover-up of Einstein and the Charlie Kirk case. Like, that sucks. That sucks. You think that's what he worked his whole life to do? You think this is what he worked his whole life to be? To be that guy that's going to get remembered in that way? I don't think so. Like, part of me kind of feels bad for him. Like, he has what should be a prestigious job. He should be doing noble things. Like, if he did the right thing, like, yeah, maybe he'd be putting himself in danger. Maybe he's thinking, like, what am I going to be that guy for? I'm going to put my head on the guillotine for what? These people think I'm a douchebag anyway. Like, I understand that. But, Cash, I can promise you, if you came out and did the right thing and really started arresting these people and exposing them, we would make a freaking, we'd make a statue for you. You know? I mean, we should. Anybody who actually brings the accountability, we should, like, they should be praised. They should be respected. They should be remembered for it. That's why I say all the time, like, I don't care about getting rich. I mean, I got to start making a little bit of money soon because I am, whatever. That's another story. But I'm storing my treasures in heaven. And for me, what makes me wealthy in this world, in this life, is getting the respect. Is getting the respect from the people, having the respect of my family, knowing that although I wasn't always a good person and I have my own past and history and committed my sins, that I spend every day trying to repent. And, I wouldn't have any problem putting my head on the guillotine to make the world better. And I wouldn't want or expect anybody to make a statue for me for doing it. I just want to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. And sometimes doing the right thing could be the hardest thing. But that's what makes it all the more important. And Cash, I'm sorry, buddy. You haven't done the right thing. You're not a man of your word. And you're not going to be remembered kindly. That's just the truth.
Way off the topic, but who has Jeffrey Epstein's
Black Book?
Black Book?
FBI.
But who? That is, I mean, there's...
Oh, that's under direct control of the director of the FBI. Just like the manifesto from the Nashville school shooting
Yes.
of the Catholic school.
Yeah.
We still haven't seen that, right? It's not the Nashville police or PD saying we don't want this out. The FBI airmailed into that operation and said this is not getting out. Because they do that because this is another government gangster operation. All these local law enforcement communities get funding from the DOJ and FBI for
Right.
local programs. And if you don't cooperate, you're not getting your $1 million for this, and you're not getting and that's a lot of money to these local districts. That's how they play the game. That's why you don't have a Black Book or the
So, but
manifesto.
the Black Book, it's not just sitting, I mean, that's Hoover power times 10.
And to me, that's a thing I think President Trump should run on. On day one, roll out the Black Book. And not just that. On day one, roll out all of the text message communications we were told were deleted. On day one, play the rest of the video of the pipe bomber. On day, one of the reforms I talk about in government gangsters is you need a central node to be continuously declassifying. There's another thing they do. They overclassify. And I'm telling you, as a former number 2 in the IC, they overclassify 50% of the stuff there to protect the deep state. Oh, no, you can't see that. Nothing to see here. Gina was a master at it, of doing it. And we still haven't seen half of the Russiagate report that we wrote. Still under lock and key.
In his own words, guys.
On how the ICA was originally constructed. We put 10,000 man hours against John Brennan's team that did it.
In his own words. In his own words. Before he had the job, he was so quick to point the fingers and criticize them and talk about what they're doing, how they do it, how he would do it differently. And then he got the job, and he's doing the same thing. Except what's worse is now we know what he's covering up. I don't know.
In the news around the FBI. I'll start with the one that's probably most important to our audience, and that's the Charlie Kirk investigation, Cash. obviously this audience includes huge fans of Charlie's. He came on the show once every 3 weeks for years. And so we're all watching that one very carefully. Let me start with this, the most obvious. Do you believe that we have the proper suspect in custody? Do you believe that Tyler Robinson is, in fact, the man who killed Charlie Kirk?
Yes.
Do you believe he acted with the help of anyone else?
This investigation is being led by the Utah state authorities because it is a murder investigation. So the FBI is a supporting role in the investigative process. And so what we're doing is the same thing we did in the pipe bomb investigation. The investigation is ongoing for us. If there's any new leads or tips, we are exhausting them with search warrants and legal process. But at the same time, we are working with the prosecutors in Utah to make sure we don't screw up their investigation. Because again, the worst outcome would be if the guy that killed Charlie Kirk walks out of a United States courtroom in the state of Utah.
What about the outcome that a person that didn't do it has to go to jail for the rest of his life, or maybe even get the death penalty? Wouldn't that be just as bad?
And so it's a delicate balance again, but there is no way this FBI is going to stop that investigation until it reaches its all-conclusive endpoint.
Do you believe any foreign government had a role in his assassination?
At this time, the FBI doesn't have credible information to connect any foreign governments to it. But as I said,
now remember, they have no credible information, no credible evidence, but he blocked that investigation by Tulsi Gabbard and her people. They wanted to investigate to see if there was any foreign influence in what happened to Charlie Kirk, and he shot it down. And now he gets on and he talks about how there's no credible evidence, just like he swore under oath that there was no credible evidence in regards to you-know-who. And you know what? I'm not a lawyer, but with that, I rest my case. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Like I said, Wednesday night, 10 o'clock Eastern, I'm going to be going live. And I'm going to bring my A game. And I hope you guys will join me. Remember, be kind, be grateful, do a good deed for somebody, and check out Danks' video. I'll put the link in the description. Have a good night, everybody.